Let me check the chat one more time. Exactly, Melissa, exactly. We need to connect love. 100%. I agree. Okay, now we go to the second speaker of today for the first villain for fear. And I'm going to introduce her before I'm going to make her a panelist. Robin, I'm making you a panelist. Okay. Okay, so Robin offers CPD training, workshops, webinars, and one-on-one coaching to help businesses improve well-being for their teams. Her approach uncovers the root causes of stress, illness, and burnout, helping individuals become more compassionate toward themselves for inner healing. Robin's focus is on creating healthier, happier workplaces that enhance employee retention, reduce sickness, and improve profitability. She guides clients in understanding and addressing the symptoms of disease, offering tools to make meaningful, lasting changes. Today, today Robin will speak with us about fear, and she will share with us strategies how to live a life that is without fear, so we can come back into these authentic selves and shine with our authentic light into the world. Robin, thank you so much for being here. It's an honor. The stage is all yours.
Thank you. Dayan, can I share my screen?
Absolutely. Please feel free to do it.
Lovely, thank you. Right, can you let me know if that's showing up as the presentation?
Yes, absolutely.
Fabulous, thank you. And thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this summit, Dayan. I just wanted to start by saying hello and welcome to this session, because I'm going to be exploring today the gift of the heart. And that gift is that through the heart's wisdom, we can learn how to navigate our way from fear that we've been looking at with Melissa so amazingly earlier this morning, from fear into freedom. And I can't believe it's the last day of the summit already. I don't know where the time has gone. I hope you're all enjoying it. And it would be lovely maybe to share some of your experiences, some of your thoughts, some of your feelings about the summit so far in the chat, because it'd be lovely to know how you're experiencing it. And I'm just blown away by all that Dayan and the team have done putting this event together, all that everybody has put in so far with the presentations and the workshops. And it's such a joy and an honor to be here speaking with you all, whether you're joining live or you're listening to one of the recordings. I just wanted to thank you all for bringing your energy, your openness, and your curiosity to this session. And also just to say that I'm really happy to share my slides. They have links in them which are clickable if I share it with you as a PDF afterwards. So you don't need to worry if you're thinking of taking notes or anything, that won't be necessary. Just email me and I'll stick my email in the chat afterwards. Please remind me to do that at the end, Dayan. So today is all about the heart. And it's such an important part of who we are that it actually warrants a day all of its own. And as you can see here, it's kind of the very core, the very center of our being. It's at the center of our body, more or less. It's also the middle chakra, which connects the lower chakras, so the base, the sacral, and the solar plexus, linking them to the higher chakras, the throat chakra, the brow chakra, and the crown chakra. And through that, it is our manifestation channel. It's the center, the core of our manifestation channel. As Melissa was talking about earlier, that law of attraction, it allows us to turn energy into physical through that channel, and also allows our self and our sense of self to connect with the divine. And did you know that the heart has an electromagnetic field? Melissa was talking about that electromagnetic activity in our body. but the heart's electromagnetic activity is actually greater than is seen in the brain, which kind of blew my mind when I first heard it, because we think of the brain as all those nerves and neurons and synapses firing and connecting to each other. But actually, the electromagnetic activity of the heart is even greater, and it can be measured outside of the body, which is what I'm representing on this slide. It has its own intelligence. You may have heard people talk about the head brain, but also the heart brain and the gut brain. And when we can bring these three together, they give a greater balance. And when they can work in alignment and balance and harmony, that gives us an extra depth to our wisdom, and that intuition that Melissa was also talking about, that guidance, that inner compass, can work at its most effective and in one direction rather than being scattered if we are in the busyness of the mind or just thinking about our emotions. But the heart helps to bring it all together. So it's part of our own internal wisdom, which is a valuable part of that guidance system. And this graph is representing the heart rhythm. When we're in those lower vibration, uncomfortable emotions, such as anger and frustration, our heart rhythm looks like the red line on the left of this graph, and it's quite chaotic. But when we can shift into more harmonious, calm, higher vibration states such as love and gratitude and appreciation and joy, then the heart rhythm looks more like the blue line on the right side of the graph. So it's much more coherent. And when we're in these coherent states, we think more clearly and more rationally. We make better decisions. We can access our intuition. We sleep better, which has so many benefits for our health, our well-being, for healing, for our ability to think clearly. We digest more effectively as well, and we learn and remember better. So lots of positives for getting into that coherent rhythm. But who am I? My name is Robin, and my business is Wild Wellbeing. And I'm passionate about this because years ago, I was in that place of fear and anxiety. And I had been through traumas. I'll share a little bit more if we have time about my book as we go through this presentation. My book came out in July, and it is all about my experience of going through that time where I was feeling anxious. I was miserable. I just felt like a victim. I felt everything was going wrong in my life, and I didn't even want to be here anymore. And I tried the traditional medication, counseling, and none of it was working for me. And I realize now it was because it was making me feel even more dependent on external things, dependent on the counselor, the therapist, dependent on medication. Whereas what I wanted was to find something that gave me a toolkit that would leave me feeling empowered, that I had this. I could deal with whatever life threw my way. I would be able to navigate that for myself. I wasn't getting that, so I set off on a journey, and that was what led to Wild. Wild being an acronym that's all about a sense of perspective rather than a set of steps. And it stands for wonder. So seeing the world through those childlike eyes of wonder, as I think, Diane, you were talking about that wonder, that childlike way of looking at the world that's fresh and new. Intuition, as Melissa was talking about earlier, loving ourselves, because so often we don't. Our society doesn't encourage us to do that. So I look at how can we get back to those eyes of wonder, listening and hearing and following our intuition, loving ourselves. And that brings us on then to D, which is dancing with life. I used to say, and I've heard so many people who come to me say, so often I feel like I'm taking one step forward and 2 steps back, or somebody recently said 10 steps back. And when we look at that with eyes of fear, then we feel like we're just going backwards, getting nowhere. How about if we looked at it differently? If we looked at it like a dance? If you think of waltz, waltz is a 3-step beat. So it is 1, 2, 3. And if we just thought of that 1 step forward, 2 steps back as a 3 beat, and it doesn't matter, nobody's judging us, life isn't a competition, then that's okay. We can just experience whatever it is. We can allow it to flow. So that's what Wild is all about, and that's what I share in my book. And it's why I'm so passionate about stepping into the wisdom of the heart and allowing us to make that shift from fear into freedom. But what is anxiety? It's a very natural response to a perceived danger or threat. And as such, the body is doing what it's designed to do. If we feel threatened, if it was a bear, then our body reacts by producing hormones, adrenaline, cortisol, which give us the energy to act. So we either can fight for our lives or we can run away. That fight or flight survival mode. It's what our body is designed to do. However, in the society that we live in today, we don't often experience encounters with bears. That's not a general threat in our day-to-day life. What we do feel threatened by or feel anxious about are things like the state of the economy, job security, taking a recent example, coronavirus, or things like Diane as well brought up earlier, standing up and making a presentation, particularly something like this, where it's remote and you can't see anybody else's faces. It feels a bit bizarre. However, going into fight or flight in those situations doesn't serve us. So we are programmed, our brain stem, our earliest part of our brain, earliest in terms of evolution, is programmed to go into fight or flight. But it's not appropriate for most of the stresses that we experience in our world today. And it takes us out of what we need. What we need is calm. When we are calm, we are in control. We are able to hear the voice of our intuition. It's not drowned out by that panic. When we are in that fight or flight, we are literally blinded by panic. We just can see our escape route in front of us and we just want to run. But that might blind us to all the other opportunities that are around us, but we can't see them because we are in that blind fear. So anxiety often in today's world doesn't actually serve us. We can still recognize that it's just my body doing what it's designed to do, while at the same time acknowledging it's not supporting me with what I need right now. So maybe I can thank my body, celebrate that it's doing what it's designed to do, but let it know that I've got this. And there are things that I can do to support myself to come out of that fight or flight, out of that survival mode, out of the blind panic, so that I can see the steps, so that I can hear my intuition guiding me, letting me know what is right for me, what steps I can take in that situation. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we can support ourselves to do that in a minute. And in that state, our heart is beating faster. We might feel tightness in our chest. And all those physical sensations that we associate with panic, the clammy hands, the dry mouth. And when we are in that situation, if it's not supporting us to take helpful action, if the hormones are running around our body and fight or flight is not serving us, or it's not something we're able to do in that moment, those feelings can just end up escalating within our body. And we feel more threat, we feel more danger, and those hormones have nowhere to go. And when we're in that state, what we may feel the need to do is to protect ourselves, to just help us to feel safe in that moment, represented by the suit of armor here. Brene Brown talks about those ways that we try to address those feelings of fear and panic. So we might shrink, wanting to get smaller, not be seen, be less of a threat ourselves, so that the threat we perceive coming at us will go away. Or we might puff up so that we are more threatening, again, so that that threat that we are perceiving will go away. The other option is that we armor up. So we might harden ourselves, shut down within ourselves in an attempt to keep out that thing that we're finding threatening. But if you think about a suit of armor, it's heavy, it's clunky, we can't move around freely, and it restricts our movement and doesn't allow us to grow either. So although it gives us actually a false sense of safety, what it's doing is restricting us. And the more we try to pull away from the things that we find fearful and threatening, the more our world shrinks. So it's an illusion that we're having more control, because we're actually just shrinking our world. So if you think, for example, of somebody who avoids social situations because they might be embarrassing, potentially, what we end up doing if we pull back from those social situations is limiting, reducing our connections and our experiences and our opportunities to feel that joy and that love that we long for. And have you heard the saying that where your attention goes, your energy flows? If we are focusing on the fear, focusing on the thing that we feel is threatening us, then our sense of that just grows. It just gets bigger. We feel more fearful, more threatened. And Melissa was talking about how the law of attraction works, and that sometimes it doesn't work in our favor. So if we're thinking constantly about fear and lack, that's what we get more of in our lives. We get more of the fear and the lack. And if we think of wanting something, so we might think, oh, I want to be slimmer, I want to have more money, I want better health. What we get more of is the wanting, because the universe doesn't hear, I don't want, or the universe doesn't hear the thing at the end of the wanting. It just hears the active verb in that thought. So it gives us more of that. It just thinks, gosh, you're thinking a lot about this. You must want more of it. You must be something that you enjoy and you love and you want more of in your life. So it produces that. And effectively, we become that magnet that Melissa was talking about, drawing more of that into our lives. So it's important, if we're experiencing, or well, it's important to look at what we're experiencing, because that is a product of our thoughts in some way. And we can change that by changing our thoughts. So to pay attention to what our inner talk is saying to us, and then to reframe that. Because as Melissa says, where you're going, what you're thinking, what you're doing is going to get you to where those thoughts lead. And if you don't want to go where those thoughts lead, it's about reframing those thoughts. And it takes, they say, a minimum of 21 days, but actually it's about 66 days to create a new habit. And it's best if we can focus on the new habit, not on getting rid of the old one, because another saying is, what you resist persists. You may have heard that one as well. So focusing on the new habit, focusing on the new thoughts and beliefs that we want in our lives by doing affirmations and mantras, but also when we make affirmations and mantras, listening to our inner voice. Is it saying, but that will never happen for you? But you're not good enough? Or any of those tail enders? Because if we're saying those things inside of ourselves, the mantras and the affirmations probably won't work. But when we catch those tail enders and we address them and reframe them, that's where the magic lies. That's so powerful. So it's about focusing on the things that we do want and bringing more of that into our lives. And if we were to shift our attention into the things that bring us that coherent heart rhythm, that maybe it's things like joy, gratitude, calmness, brings us that sense of expansion, how much better would that be? Taking us from that fear state where we're constricting into openness and expansion and freedom. So instead of trying always to protect ourselves from fear, which is focusing on the fear, instead to learn ways where we can open our heart. And when we do that, it allows us to experience fully. And then we can recognize that our emotions, the things that maybe anger, fear, those emotions, they are just energy in motion. And if we do what Jack Kornfield says, he talks about not so much letting go as letting be. Just let them be. And the energy in motion, that emotion, will flow through and flow on. It's when we focus on it all of the time, we keep it stuck. But if we just sit with it and allow it to be, then we can process it, release it, and it will move on in a very natural way. So it's, for me, about how do we create a sense of safety that allows us to open our heart and allows us to experience that free flowing of our emotions without being fearful of them. And we must, it's about creating that sense of safety on a physical level, an emotional level, and a psychological level. Most of us probably feel reasonably safe most of the time, but are we emotionally safe? Are we psychologically safe? Or are we feeling some form of threat or disquiet? And if we are, as many of us are in this world that we live in, there's a lot of news all the time that's very negative. It's 24/7, 365 with our phones, computers, televisions, radio, constantly bombarding us with all these negative stories. Very rarely do we hear good news. So what can we do? How can we bring ourselves that sense of safety? And if I just stop sharing briefly, I hope you can see me. Can you see me, Diane, or do I need to do anything else? I just wanted to share some exercises where we can bring that sense of safety, basically supporting our vagus nerve. And one of them is just to take the curl at the top of your ear and try gently to uncurl it. Just pull it gently. You can pull your ears up at the top, pull them backwards at the sides, and then pull them down from the earlobes. And again, just doing that very gently, gently massaging your ears. You can also stick your fingers into, not right into the ear canal, but just above that and just massage. And all of that helps to calm the vagus nerve. And another one is just to take your hands and gently smooth down your upper arms on the other side, so crossing your hands over. And again, that just helps. It's sort of like giving yourself a hug. Or I'm in Wales in the UK, and there's a great word here in Wales, a cwtch, which means a small, safe space and a hug. Has two meanings. Doesn't translate readily into English, but you get that sense of warmth and safety. And if you go to my YouTube channel, I have the links later in the presentation, you can find a playlist on self-care exercises where there are more examples of things you can do for yourself there. And then just to go back to my presentation. Another thing I wanted to share around the heart and how it helps us to move from fear into freedom is that, did you know the word for courage actually comes from the word for heart in Latin? In Latin, heart is cor, and that is the root of the word courage in English. So the heart is so deeply connected with this shift from fear into freedom. And it's not, courage isn't about not feeling the fear. Courage is about, like Melissa was saying, feeling the fear and following it, allowing it to guide you into the thing that is perfect for providing your freedom, giving you that gift of moving you forward into who you were really meant to be, who you were born to be, the fullness of who you are. And the ways that we can do this, that we can help to shift our focus and to support our heart, to give ourselves that sense of safety, are things like heart-centered breathing. And we can, just as in this image here, put our hands over our heart. You might like to close your eyes when you do this to help you tune in to your body and to your intuition, to your heart. And you can also feel your heart, listening to it as it beats and as you breathe, just feeling that breath coming in and going out. You don't need to change your breath. Just make sure that you are breathing from your diaphragm rather than the top of your chest. Breathing from your diaphragm instantly sends a feedback loop to your body. All is well. I am safe. It's all okay. So breathing, just observing your breath as it comes in and goes out. And just knowing that that is the essence of you, the breath, the spirit. You might like to add color, maybe breathing in a color you find relaxing, breathing out stress, noticing the cool air as it comes in, the warm air as it goes out. And all of this helps to ground us and to center us and to bring us back to that sense of clarity and agency. And I've got this. Other practices can be ones that help you to shift into those higher emotional states, higher vibrational states, such as love and joy and gratitude and peace. So whatever helps you. For me, I love walking in nature, being surrounded by the colors of nature, greens of the trees, blue of water. You hear green spaces and blue spaces. Those sorts of things can really help me to feel grounded, feel centered, feel calm, feel joyful and expansive. So whatever bring those sensations, those feelings and emotions for you. I've also used gratitude journaling. And I want to just put a caveat in here. When I'm talking about getting into those positive, uplifting emotions or writing a gratitude diary, I'm not talking about positive thinking just for the sake of positive thinking. Because if we're not feeling comfortable and we've got some stuff going on that we're, emotional stuff going on, it's not about pushing that down. We can explore that, and it has so much wisdom to share. What I'm saying is, how can we shift ourselves out of that fear, even just momentarily? Because that helps with our heart rate variability. And they've proven that this is a very healthy way to be, that we can know we have the control. We have the power and ability to shift ourselves. We can make that choice. We can make the choice to enjoy, literally bring joy into our lives, bring greater peace into our lives, connect with the still core that is within all of us, Sometimes we need to dig a little bit. We may be carrying some baggage, some conditioning, some stress and anxiety from the world. But deep within us, we do have this intuition, this heart, this peacefulness, and we can reconnect with that. I mentioned mantras and affirmations earlier. Also, there's an exercise in my YouTube channel called the Hakalau, which is a great one for opening our hearts and our minds, getting centered, getting calm, and being able to be open to receiving as well. So just in summary then, living from a place of fear causes us to shut our hearts away in an attempt to avoid our pain and our anxiety. But in fact, what this actually does is restricts us. It shuts us off from the life we were designed to live, from our passion. We can't choose that we're going to push down anger and fear and all of those uncomfortable emotions, but still have love and joy and all of the ones that we want to be having. We don't get to pick and choose in that way. But all of our emotions are simply information. They're wisdom. They have so much to share when we can sit in dialogue with them and not fear them. And focusing on fear restricts our energy, our attention, our life experiences. But when we step into the heart and its courage and shift into love and joy and focusing on the things that we want, that light us up, that make our hearts sing, then that allows us to expand and to step even more fully into who we were born to be and to shine our light, and so to uplift others and allow them to shine their light as well. So I'd like to encourage you, just as final words, to focus your attention on the things that you want, on the things that light you up, on the things that bring you joy. Bring more of those into your life. Yes, take time to address the things that you're finding challenging right now, but always remember the self-care to do the stuff that you love, that will support you and uplift you. And I'd also like to challenge you. What one thing from this summit or from this presentation, what one thing will you commit to adding to your self-care practice to support you in moving closer to love and stepping more fully into who you were born to be? And I'm going to just quickly share with you that I have a special offer from this summit that you can get 20% off any way that you would like to work with me. So I offer one-to-one sessions, workshops, webinars, meditations, 20% off everything. If you're watching this from the summit, if you just quote the code SUPER2024. And as I said, if you would like to have these slides, then I'm very happy to share them with you. And these links will all be live. So if you'd like to follow me, this is where I am, my socials. You can get to them from these links. And if you join my Facebook group and that's the link there, if you fill in your email address when it asks you the questions, the joining questions, then I will send you a free copy of my Wild Way guide as a thank you. Alternatively, if you don't want to join the group, you can get that directly from that link. And for being here with me today, or obviously if you're watching the video as well, the replay, I have a chakra guide to share with you as a thank you, a summit thank you. And if you'd like to have a chat with me, if you've got any questions that we might not have time for today or that you think of later, do feel free to book a Zoom call with me. And I mentioned my book. This is a copy, a picture. If you'd like to see more and you take these slides, again, this is a clickable image, so you can find out more about that. And then it's just to say thank you very much for being here on this session, for listening live, or if you're watching the replay, thank you as well. And any questions if we have time?
Thank you so much, Robin. I loved your visuals. First of all, were brilliant. I loved them, and the quality of the images was brilliant. But what you were sharing with us was the thing that is the real gold. Because yes, when we align with our hearts, when we align with this natural peace that we have, we allow the true wisdom to shine through. And I agree. I completely encourage everybody that what you said, take one thing from this summit that helps you align more with your hearts and do that. If you don't take anything, just take one thing to help you come closer to your heart. And we did our job here. We can say that we did our job. Thank you so much for reminding everybody of this. If anybody has a question for Ms. Robin, please leave it in the chat. We have 5 more minutes with her right now, so we can chat and discuss. Maybe you have some questions. Maybe you want certain clarity on certain topics that she was going through with us. So please feel free to leave the questions in the chat. I loved how you also merged science with this topic, with sharing the coherence level of our heartbeat and all of this. And it's so interesting when we speak about emotions, we can't help but get back to science for some reason, which is so interesting. We think these two things are so separate, but I believe they're so close together and they're actually one of the same thing. So the Heart Math Institute, I believe, proved, and also Melissa was touching on this, that we all have this magnetic field around us that's coming from our heart. And this magnetic field is, I believe, 5,000 times stronger than the magnetic field of our brain. 5,000 times. So this can just give you a glimpse of how much powerful our heart is, especially when it's functioning in a coherent way, when it's relaxed and beating in a coherent fashion. So your heart is your real power, 5,000 times more powerful magnetic field than the brain. Mr. Christoffel last year was speaking about this and the power of the heart. So whenever you want to manifest something, whenever you want to learn a wisdom or you need an answer for a question, all of that you can find in your heart if you align with it. Thank you so much for reminding us of all of this. I see a lot of thank yous in the chat. A lot of people are, all of them are satisfied and they're truly grateful for your talk. And yes, Beth, I agree 100% with what you say. My heart is my superpower, 100%. Each of our 4 pillars carries a hidden superpower within. That was the purpose of the last year's summit. The spirit has, the mind has, the body has, and the heart has. And the superpower of the heart is to literally create the reality you want to live in. Because your heart, if you are in fear, your whole reality is scary. If you are in love, your whole reality is in love. 2 people can sit on the same bench, one can be in fear, one can be in love, and they can live in 2 separate worlds. Just if you don't believe me, put on a horror movie tonight, watch it. It's gonna be the same home you live in, but you will have hard time to sleep, right? There will be different monsters your mind projects into your own home. Nothing changed, but you will not be able to sleep because of the fear emotion. Do the same with love, and you'll sleep like a baby. So this just proves the power of our emotions and our heart. So thank you so much, Robin. I believe everything was clear. I see one question here from Jamie. For those who may not already know, what happens to our stress levels when we allow ourselves to both loving acknowledge our challenging emotions and offer ourselves a shift in mindset, heart center?
What happens to our emotions, did you say?
Yes, what happens to our stress levels
Stress levels.
when we allow ourselves to both loving acknowledge our challenging emotions and offer ourselves a shift in mindset, heart center?
I think when we do that, it takes the pressure off. So our stress levels will automatically come down. It takes away the judgment. And it takes away a lot of the fear. Because I was definitely in that place where I was judging myself and I was fearful that And I was fearful about everything, like you said, and it's so true. You sit on that bench and you look with lenses of fear, like glasses of fear. You look at the world, and that's all you see. And I actually saw, I think it was a TED talk where they had two pictures and they did an overlay of a different color. And it came out scary monsters, or it came out beautiful and hearts and all lovely. And that's just exactly what you were saying. If we have those fear lenses, then that's how we see everything. And that's what I did. I made that shift through going on the wild journey. So it's possible for anyone. It really is that simple, not always that easy. But when we, like that question says from Jamie, when we acknowledge how we're feeling and we let it be, as Jack Cornfield says, we're not judging ourselves, we're not beating ourselves up about it. We get curious with compassion. Oh, I'm having this emotion right now. I wonder what wisdom it holds for me. I wonder where it's coming from. I wonder why I'm feeling that way. What does it have to teach me? What can I learn from this? And explore that just with that acceptance and love, and shifting our mindset into that. That's okay. That's natural. It's an emotion. Emotions just are. I don't need to beat myself up about it. It just is. But maybe it has something to teach me. So I think that's what it does. It allows us to explore with love, with understanding, with compassion, with courage, with all those things from the heart, which then enables us to start to reframe it. How do I want it to be? Where do I want to get to? And what thoughts, beliefs, emotions will take me there?
Thank you so much for your answer. And I 100% agree. The life is the TV and our emotions choose the channel. And on the same TV, you can watch a beautiful movie or you can watch a horror movie or terrible news or beautiful news. Your heart chooses the channel. And that's our real superpower. Thank you so much, Robin. And with your talk, we conclude the first villain of today, which is this fear, imaginary emotion, which is not the same as the real fear. It's this fake version of fear that the difference is like this, at least for my mind. Real fear appears only when your life is in real danger, and it appears with the purpose to save your life. Fake fear appears whenever there is a potential danger because it tries to save you from death. And that is an impossible task because we will all eventually die. And that's natural part of life. If we live 100 years or 1,000 years, eventually we will all die. So if this fear tries and it's optimizing your life, saving you from death and from all potential danger, then it's just shrinking your life. It's putting you in a smaller and smaller cage. It doesn't care if you just live in your home, don't go out, as long as you're safe from all danger. But that's not living. There's a beautiful quote that I love. It says, "We are all falling through the air." That's the bad news. The good news is that there is no ground. And a lot of us are trying to build structures in the air while we are falling down, not realizing that it's pointless to focus so much attention on safety rather than living. So the moment you are willing to live your life more than you are afraid, then that's when you win. That's when you go one step further than fear.